Welcome to Live a Supercharged Life, the podcast that ignites your energy and uplifts your spirit. This is your go-to space for navigating love, relationships, and personal growth. Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling a topic that I think we all could use a little more of in our lives.
Kindness, you mean?
Exactly. We're diving deep into 41 ways to be a nicer person, which sounds like quite a list, to be honest.
It is, but don't worry, we're not going to go through all 41.
Right, we'll pick out the most fascinating and, most importantly, the most useful ideas.
What I find so interesting about this topic is, we often think of kindness as just this, fluffy, feel-good thing, but it actually has a much deeper impact on us.
Yeah, I can see that.
It affects our mental well-being, how we connect with others, maybe even our physical health.
Okay, now that's something I definitely want to learn more about. How can simply being nicer actually affect us on a physical level?
Well, believe it or not, kindness has a biological basis. When we're kind, our brains release what are often called happy hormones. Things like oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine.
Okay, so it's not just about fleeting warm fuzzies. It's actually affecting our brain chemistry.
Precisely. And each of those hormones has specific benefits, like take oxytocin, for example. Sometimes it's called the love hormone.
I've heard of that.
And it actually helps us build trust and stronger connections with other people.
So it's not just about feeling good in the moment, but actually building something more lasting.
Exactly. Then there's serotonin, which is all about mood regulation. So basically, kindness makes us more resilient to stress and all the negativity that life throws at us.
Makes sense. And what about dopamine? That's the one associated with rewards, right?
You got it. Dopamine is our brain's way of saying, hey, this feels good, let's do it again. So acts of kindness can actually become self-reinforcing.
Like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. We feel good when we're kind, so we're more likely to be kind again in the future.
Wow, I'm starting to see how all this ties together. But the source we're looking at goes beyond just the science of kindness.
All right.
It digs into what actually makes someone a genuinely kind person.
Absolutely. The source emphasizes that true kindness goes way beyond, like just putting on a smile or doing the bare minimum. It's really about cultivating certain core traits. And they break those down into three main categories: authenticity, compassion, and empathy.
So there's actually a framework for becoming a kinder person. That's interesting. Let's unpack those traits a bit. What does being authentically kind even mean?
It's like walking the walk, not just talking the talk. It means being genuine in your actions and how you interact with people, keeping your word, respecting everyone, even when you don't agree with them.
So it's about having integrity, being true to yourself in how you treat others. Makes sense. What about compassion?
Compassion is really at the core of kindness. It's about truly caring about the well-being of others. A compassionate person is more likely to apologize when they hurt someone, offer a helping hand when it's needed, and just stay kind, even when things get tough.
That must take some serious emotional maturity, right? I mean, it's easy to be kind when everything's going well, but it's a lot harder when you're facing your own challenges.
True. And finally, we have empathy. And that's all about understanding and sharing the feelings of another person, really trying to see things from their perspective, like, stepping into their shoes.
I love that saying, before you judge a man, walk a mile in his shoes. Empathy seems like such a powerful tool for connecting with people on a deeper level.
Exactly. It keeps us from, making those snap judgments or assumptions. It helps us to be more understanding and forgiving.
So we've got authenticity, compassion, and empathy as the building blocks of true kindness. But how do we actually develop these qualities? Is there like a secret formula or something?
Yep. There's no magic solution, unfortunately.
Right.
But the source does point to the importance of emotional intelligence. It's basically the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others.
Emotional intelligence. I've always wanted to learn more about that, but it seems like such a broad concept. How do we actually, get better at it?
Well, they highlight three specific skills: active listening, empathy building, and reading social cues.
Okay.
Let's start with active listening.
All right.
It's about going beyond just hearing the words someone's saying. You're fully present in the conversation, asking clarifying questions, and you really make the other person feel heard and understood.
So it's like you're saying, I'm here with you, tell me more. I bet that makes people feel valued and respected.
They will.
What about empathy building? How do you actually get better at understanding what someone else is going through?
Well, there are some practical exercises you can try. One technique is called perspective taking. Like, let's say you have a disagreement with a coworker. Take a moment to imagine the situation from their point of view. what might be going on in their life. What pressures might they be facing that you don't know about?
Interesting. I can see how that would help me to be less judgmental and more understanding.
Exactly. And it can help you respond to them with more compassion instead of just reacting defensively.
Right. Okay, and what about reading social cues? That seems a bit more subtle.
It is subtle, but incredibly important. It's about paying attention to all those nonverbal signals that people are sending, body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, things like that.
Oh, right.
Those cues often reveal more than words ever could.
So if someone says they're fine, but their body language is screaming, "I'm stressed,"
Yeah,
you're not going to just take their word for it.
exactly. Reading social cues helps us to be more sensitive and responsive in our interactions. We can better gauge how someone is truly feeling and adjust our approach accordingly.
Okay, so we've got these 3 key skills for building emotional intelligence: active listening, empathy building, and reading social cues. What's next on our journey to becoming nicer people? What else does the source suggest?
Well, they actually get into some pretty practical daily habits we can all incorporate, even if we're starting small.
Okay, I like that. Small steps.
Right. And they emphasize that building these skills takes practice and consistency. It's not a one-time thing.
Okay, I'm ready for those actionable tips.
One of the most powerful habits, and you've probably heard of this before, is starting your day with gratitude.
Gratitude. Everyone's talking about gratitude these days. I have to admit, I've always been a bit skeptical. Does it really make a difference?
What's fascinating is that research actually shows that consistently practicing gratitude can, get this, rewire your brain to focus on the positive.
Really?
Yeah, it helps to shift your perspective and reduce those feelings of negativity and, scarcity.
So it's like training your brain to look for the good instead of dwelling on the bad.
Precisely. And that shift in mindset naturally leads to more kindness towards yourself and others. You're less likely to be critical or judgmental when you're feeling grateful for what you have.
I'm starting to come around to this gratitude thing. What are some other daily habits that can help us be nicer?
Well, we already talked about active listening, but it's important to remember that this is a skill we can practice in all of our interactions, not just when we're trying to be super empathetic.
Yeah, makes sense.
Really focusing on what the other person is saying, asking clarifying questions, just demonstrating that we're engaged in the conversation,
Like we're present, not just waiting for our turn to talk.
Exactly. It can make a world of difference in how we're perceived and how we make others feel.
It's like giving someone the gift of your undivided attention, which, let's face it, is pretty rare these days.
That's a great way to put it. Another habit the source emphasizes is actively looking for opportunities to be positive.
I like that. Actively looking, like it's a treasure hunt.
Exactly. This could mean offering a genuine compliment, holding the door open for someone, or even just smiling at a stranger. Doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
Yeah, I love that. It's about those small acts of kindness that can really brighten someone's day.
Precisely. And it's about shifting your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right.
Okay, one last habit I want to hear about. Viewing mistakes as learning opportunities. This is something I personally struggle with. I tend to beat myself up when I mess up.
It's a common struggle. But shifting your perspective on mistakes is incredibly powerful.
In what way?
Instead of seeing them as failures, see them as valuable lessons. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience?
So it's about being kind to yourself, which then allows you to be kinder to others.
That's exactly right. Self-compassion is essential for our own well-being, and it allows us to extend that same compassion to others.
These tips are fantastic. I feel like I'm already gaining some valuable insights. It's inspiring to see that becoming a nicer person is something we can all work towards, one small step at a time.
And the beauty of it is that these small steps can have a ripple effect, creating a more positive and compassionate world around us. But we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore when it comes to kindness. I'm excited to keep learning.
Me too. Welcome back to our deep dive into kindness. Before we jump ahead, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. You were talking about how kindness can really make a difference in our relationships.
Yeah, you're right. We were just starting to uncover how powerful kindness can be, especially when it comes to connecting with others.
Exactly. And the source really dives deeper into this, specifically highlighting the role of compassion.
So it's not just about being polite or doing nice things for people. There's something deeper going on here.
Exactly. They actually argue that compassion is the foundation for building really strong relationships.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does compassion actually translate into, having better relationships? What does that look like in our everyday lives?
Well, the source gives some really practical examples. One of the most important is the quality of our conversations. It's about having those, meaningful interactions.
I think we could all use a little more of that.
Yeah, where both people feel heard and seen and, understood.
Right. But what does that actually mean? Like, are we supposed to be having these deep philosophical discussions all the time?
Not necessarily. It's more about the intention and the presence you bring to the conversation. It's about, putting your phone away, making eye contact, and really listening to what the other person is saying, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
So it's about making people feel like they matter, like what they have to say is important.
Exactly. And that's where compassion comes in. It allows us to approach those conversations with a sense of openness and empathy, really wanting to understand the other person's perspective.
I love that. Creating a safe space for, a really authentic connection.
Exactly.
Are there other ways that compassion shows up in our relationships besides those conversations?
Oh, absolutely. The source also talks about the importance of showing genuine interest in others.
That seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like?
It's about going beyond just, surface level chit chat. It's about making a real effort to get to know someone.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering details about their lives, asking about their hopes and dreams, and celebrating their accomplishments, both big and small.
Right. It's about making people feel like they matter. And I think it's often the little things that have the biggest impact.
You're so right. It could be something as simple as remembering someone's birthday or sending a quick text just to check in, see how they're doing.
Exactly.
It's those small acts of kindness that, build up over time. They create this foundation of care and support.
Okay, so we've got meaningful conversations, showing genuine interest. Is there a third element to this compassion trifecta when it comes to building strong connections?
This one can be a little tougher, but it's so important.
Okay, hit me with it.
Practicing forgiveness.
Forgiveness, oh, that's a big one.
It is.
I think a lot of people struggle with that, myself included.
It's definitely not always easy, especially when we've been hurt or wronged by someone.
Right.
But holding on to anger and resentment, it's like carrying a heavy weight. It creates this wall between us and the other person, and it prevents us from, really connecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Forgiveness is about releasing those negative emotions and, choosing to move forward.
So it's not about, condoning the other person's actions or forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from that emotional burden.
Exactly. And the source emphasizes that forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. It may take time, and that's okay.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off. And it's important to remember that forgiveness is ultimately a gift you give to yourself. It allows you to let go of the past and open yourself up to, the possibility of healing and deeper connection.
I love that reframing. It's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about choosing peace and freedom for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered compassion and how it helps us build stronger connections.
Yeah.
What are some other practices that can help us cultivate kindness?
Oh, the source also explores two practices that are, essential for personal growth.
Okay, lay them on me.
Mindfulness and gratitude.
Oh, mindfulness and gratitude. Those are such buzzwords these days. Everyone seems to be talking about them. But I'm not sure I totally get, what they really mean or how they actually work.
I hear you. Sometimes it's hard to see past the hype.
Right.
Let's start with mindfulness.
Okay.
Mindfulness is essentially the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings and sensations, without getting carried away by them.
So instead of letting your mind race with worries about the future or regrets about the past, you're just focusing on what's happening right now.
Exactly. And the source points out that mindfulness is crucial for personal growth.
How so?
Because it allows us to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Okay.
We start to see our patterns, our strengths, weaknesses, and our motivations more clearly.
It's like taking an honest look in the mirror, both of the good and the bad. I can see how that could be helpful, but how does it actually make us nicer people?
Well, the more aware we become of our own thoughts and emotions, the better we can manage them. We're less likely to just react impulsively or say things we regret. It creates that space between, stimulus and response.
So instead of snapping at someone when you're feeling stressed, you're able to pause and choose a kinder response.
That's the idea. And that space allows us to, access our compassion and empathy more readily.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we actually practice mindfulness? Is it all about meditation?
Well, meditation is definitely a powerful tool, but you can bring mindfulness into everyday activities too. Pay attention to the sensations of your breath, the taste of your food, the feeling of the sun on your skin. It's about bringing your full awareness to whatever you're doing, even something as simple as, washing the dishes.
Right.
It's like a mental shift, a way of being more present in your life.
Okay, that's helpful. Now let's talk about gratitude. Seems like such a simple concept, but I'm curious to hear how it connects to becoming a nicer person.
So gratitude is more than just a feeling. It's an active practice. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the good things in your life, even when things are tough.
So it's about shifting your perspective from what's missing to what you already have.
Exactly. And that shift can have a really profound impact on, our well-being and our relationships.
How so? I mean, I can see how it would make you feel happier, but how does that translate into being kinder to others?
Well, when we're focused on the things we're grateful for, we're less likely to, dwell on negativity and complaints. We're more content, more optimistic, and more likely to see the good in other people too.
So instead of comparing ourselves to others or feeling envious of what they have, we're able to just appreciate them for who they are.
That's a great way to put it. Gratitude helps us to see the abundance in our lives and in the world around us, And that naturally leads to more kindness and generosity. The source actually gives some specific practices we can do to cultivate more gratitude.
Okay, yeah, give me some examples. I'm all about those practical tips.
One classic practice is keeping a gratitude journal.
Ah, yes, the gratitude journal.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, but I always thought it sounded a bit cheesy. What's so powerful about actually writing things down?
It's not just about the act of writing, it's about the intentionality of it. When you take the time to reflect on the good things in your life, you're actively training your brain to focus on the positive. It's like you're building a muscle of gratitude.
Okay, I like that analogy. This makes it seem more, achievable, like something you can actually work on and get better at.
Right.
Are there other ways to cultivate gratitude besides journaling?
Oh, absolutely. Visual reminders can be really helpful. You could put up sticky notes around your house with gratitude prompts. Or even, create a vision board with images that, inspire feelings of thankfulness.
Ooh, I love that. Vision boards are fun. It's like creating little reminders to, shift your perspective throughout the day.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just, grateful actions. Make an effort to express your appreciation to the people in your life. Write thank you notes. Tell your loved ones how much you appreciate them.
Right.
Even just make a conscious effort to say thank you more often.
Yeah, it's about making gratitude a verb, not just a noun.
I love that. And finally, the source emphasizes the importance of recognizing the efforts of others.
What does that look like in practice?
It could be something as simple as, acknowledging a coworker who helped you out with a project, or thanking a friend for lending a listening ear.
Right.
It's about taking the time to notice and appreciate the good things people do, big or small.
Yeah, those small gestures can really make someone's day, and it creates that ripple effect of positivity. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot of ground here. Compassion, mindfulness, gratitude. It seems like there are so many different aspects to kindness.
There are, and it's all interconnected. Compassion fuels our kindness. Mindfulness allows us to choose kindness, and gratitude expands our capacity for kindness.
I'm really inspired by all these insights, but I'm also wondering, how do we actually put this into practice?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
Ooh, can't wait.
We'll be looking at, practical ways to really put kindness into action.
Perfect.
Make a positive impact in our daily lives.
All right, welcome back to our kindness deep dive. I'm feeling super energized after all that talk about compassion, mindfulness, and gratitude. Like, I'm ready to get out there and spread some good vibes.
That's the spirit. And that's actually a perfect segue into what we're talking about today. It's all about putting kindness into action. We've explored the why behind kindness, and now it's time to tackle the how.
Yes. Let's get practical. What can we actually do starting today to make a difference?
The beauty is you don't have to make these grand gestures or, overhaul your whole life. The source actually highlights a bunch of simple, everyday actions that can make a big impact.
I love that. Small acts, big impact. So what are some of those easy ways to, sprinkle kindness into our daily routine?
Well, one of the easiest and often overlooked is simply smiling at strangers.
Oh, yeah, just a simple smile.
You'd be surprised how much that can brighten someone's day.
I know, right? It's like a little spark of human connection makes people feel seen.
Exactly. What else? How about giving genuine compliments?
Oh, I love giving compliments.
Tell a friend you love their outfit, praise a coworker for a job well done, even compliment the barista on their latte art, you know?
It feels so good to give them, and it feels just as good to receive them. It's like this little boost of joy.
Exactly. And, make sure they're genuine and specific. Like, instead of just saying, you look nice, try something like, that color looks amazing on you. It really brings out your eyes.
Oh, that's a good tip. Yeah, it's more personal that way.
Yeah.
Okay, what else can we add to our kindness arsenal?
Well, think about online reviews. We often take the time to complain when we have a bad experience. But how often do we share positive feedback?
That's a good point. I know I'm definitely guilty of that.
Right. We should make more of an effort to leave those glowing reviews for businesses we love, especially small businesses.
Yeah, they really rely on word of mouth. Okay, I'm making a note of that.
Good. And of course, if you're looking for ways to, give back to your community, consider donating to a cause you care about.
Donations, yeah.
Whether it's a local charity or a global organization, even just a crowdfunding campaign for someone in need.
Even small donations can make a difference, for sure. And then there's always volunteering, too.
Volunteering is fantastic. There are so many incredible organizations that really depend on volunteers. Animal shelters, food banks, mentoring programs.
Such a great way to make a tangible difference. All right, so we've talked about smiling, compliments, positive reviews, donating, and volunteering. What if you're, short on time or resources? Are there any acts of kindness that don't require, like, a big commitment?
Definitely. And here's one that's free and always available. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Truly listening to the people around you.
Oh, yeah. Active listening. We touched on that before, but it's so important.
Absolutely. Putting your phone away, making eye contact, really focusing on what the other person is saying.
Yeah, it makes them feel heard, valued.
Exactly. And it can do wonders for your relationships, friends, family, colleagues. It's a simple act, but wow, it's powerful.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I have this whole new understanding of kindness. I'm excited to put all these ideas into practice.
Me too. And remember, it's not about being perfect or doing everything at once.
Right.
Start small, pick 1 or 2 acts of kindness that resonate with you, and, just try incorporating them into your routine.
That's a good reminder. Progress, not perfection. And who knows, maybe our little acts will inspire other people to do the same.
Exactly. Kindness is contagious. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
I love a good final thought.
Never underestimate the power of your actions. Even the smallest acts of kindness can make a difference in the world, one person at a time.
So beautifully said. All right, dear listeners, as you go about your day, remember that you have the power to spread kindness wherever you go. What act of kindness will you choose today? So if you're looking for some amazing tips, some resources, some help with relationships, head over to liveasuperchargedlife.com. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.